Hello and welcome to this video in my sort of studio thing that I'm building right now and getting set up for doing more videos, not just out in my living room with the beautiful view behind me, but actually inside as well. Just for the fun of it, just for the heck of it, why not? I've still got a few things I need to set up. But anyway, I figured I would also use this as an opportunity because, look, I want you to get to know me, right? And I want to bring you into my world as much as possible and my life and my journey and all of that. And to be honest, that's not a very easy thing for me. And it's pretty ironic because when I lived in the ashram, I had people and friends all over the world that knew everything about me, right? Because we would be broadcasting our events and our darshans and satsangs, which are special events and things like that. And would get counseled and would be counseling one another or would be getting counseled by the guru, by the spiritual master. And there's a lot of stuff about my personal life that's sort of out there. It's been recorded, it's been broadcasted. A lot of people know about it. So it's interesting because I don't really, I don't really have anything to hide, nor do I really care about people knowing my story. However, at the same time, without being prompted and without people asking specific questions, it's not that easy for it to come out of me. And the other interesting thing about it is that when it comes specifically to my training, in the specifics of going in and examples of my wounds and my issues and all of that stuff is really, really difficult for me to bring up. I think it's because it's private, right? And it was always a very private thing for me, even though, as I said, people sort of knew what was going on and we all knew each other's wounds and issues and so forth, because that was the nature of being in an ashram, right? It's for healing and it's for growth and it's for personal development and spiritual growth and all the many different things that come with that. But at the end of the day, that's still a part of my journey, right? And it's a part of what I want to impart and share with you. But what I wanted to focus on today, after that little sort of confession, is I wanted to really just sort of sum up all of spirituality into maybe 2, maybe 3 points. And this is really everything, right? It's the core of everything. And if you get these 2 or 3 things, you'll literally have the answers to the mysteries of the universe and your existence. And if you understand what these 3 things are and how to utilize them in your life, they will lead you to full and complete self-mastery and ultimately self-realization or self-actualization or enlightenment, illumination, whatever you want to call it, right? It really doesn't matter. There's so many labels to a lot of different words and different people will interpret things differently based on that. But ultimately, there's only really one true meaning of when you attain self-mastery. And a lot of teachers and a lot of people, spiritual people out there, think that they have attained enlightenment or ascension or any one of those terminologies, and they haven't. In some cases, I'm going to be quite blunt and quite frank and quite honest, in some cases they haven't even really scratched the surface of their own healing and evolution. And I say that with all due respect, and I know how that comes across. And I'm by no means saying that I am that, right? But that's the reason why I can say that, because there's a lot to uncover, and there is no final destination either. That's one of the big illusions of the personal development and healing and growth. So any time that somebody tells you that they've arrived or that they've healed all of their certain issues, I've got an audio problem. Hold on a sec. So whenever anyone says that they've healed all of their wounds or they've healed all of their issues, it's technically not true, okay? Even spiritual masters are constantly evolving and growing. And think of it in these terms. The universe is infinite. God is infinite. There's an infinite amount of love and God to grow into and to actualize and realize. There's an infinite number of experiences. Okay. And whilst it might be true that you could heal one specific issue 100% and that issue is gone, the mere fact that you're even expressing it and telling people about that is, I guess it depends on the context, right? But a lot of times people are just doing it out of ego and vanity because the proof is always in the pudding. And that's really, really an important concept. But certainly anyone that's saying, oh, I'm enlightened or I'm illumined and I've attained self-realization and all of this sort of stuff, anyone that's constantly saying that and using that as a way to somehow justify or say that they are better than or that they're a cut above you and all of that sort of stuff is just ego. And that's the interesting thing, because I've seen spiritual masters with a lot of ego, right? And some people will say, well, it's not ego, it's just that they're confident, right? And that they've mastered themselves and they don't care what other people think or whatever else. But ego is still ego. And we can label it whatever we want, but there's still ego. And just because someone's a spiritual master doesn't mean that they're perfect, and it doesn't mean that they're infallible, and it doesn't mean that you should do what they say. But anyway, that's a separate topic, all right? So what are these 2 or 3 things that I can literally just hone down all of the teachings, all right? Now, first and foremost, before I say that, I just want to also impart that there's a lot of information out there about a lot of different things, about the end of the world coming, or Armageddon, or the prophecies, or this and that, and who's the second coming, if there is such a thing in the first place, which there is, but it's not a human being, and it's not like one person, and you know, there's a lot of hoo-ha out there, and a lot of people are focusing on all that hoo-ha, right? At the end of the day, I use the word hoo-ha because it is hoo-ha. And what I mean by that is that you can't prove any of that stuff as being accurate. Like, I know 100% that Atlantis existed and there were ancient civilizations. I know that it ended approximately 12,500 to 13,000 years ago. Oh, I know a lot of different things that I know, and there's enough evidence out there to prove it. But at the end of the day, do you really know? At the end of the day, do you really know? Do you really know who's really controlling the planet? Because depending on your perspective and where you look at things from, you're going to get a different answer, because technically everything's all under the auspices of the oneness of God. So technically everything that's bad that's happening in these lower dimensional realities that we exist in and that we're experiencing right now in this current form and this embodiment, technically, yeah, it's dark forces and it's darker energies and things like that, and we're heading into a new age of enlightenment where everything's going to be all wonderful and all of that sort of stuff. But people also take that to think that it's a free ride. And people take that to think that it means that you're actually going to survive the transition too, because there's technically no collateral damage at the end of the day. The problem is that the darker forces sort of know this through the occult secrets and the occult stuff that they're into, but everything's been twisted and contorted, and they have a complete disregard for life and for collateral damage and things like that, fully not understanding about what karma is and the concepts of karma and the energetics, and thinking that they are going to be able to survive it by creating rocket ships that are going to go to Mars and creating underground bunkers and all sorts of different things that they're going to do to mitigate and try to save themselves from impending doom that they don't even care that they're going to create and that they're actually accelerating the happening of by doing some of the actions that they're doing. Things that could actually be circumvented if everyone on the planet was on the same page. So I just want to sort of throw out some weird stuff out there, okay? Topics that I will talk about in greater detail. If you ask me questions, that will help. But I have no problems in getting into some of the minutiae. But just know, there's only one thing that's important, right? All of that other stuff is great fantasy fairy tale. It's like watching Lord of the Rings, okay? Or watching some fantasy movie. It's all great. It's all wonderful. It's most likely true, a lot of it, certain aspects of what you're hearing out there. But there's a lot of stuff that's absolutely not. There's a lot of lies. There's a lot of deceit. There's a lot of manipulation. And at the end of the day, it's just entertainment, okay? Entertainment, that's all it is. And this is the reason why it's so important to understand this first principle. So there will be three, because this one I just came up with in this conversation. And that is that the number one most important thing that any human being or any individual can do on this planet, bar none. It's better than it's more important than the greatest philanthropical thing that you could do. It's more important than anything. And it's literally the reason why you embodied in the first place. And that is to go within and to realize who you truly are and who you were born to be, and to live from that place. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is to be enlightened or illumined. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, that there is no greater work than working on yourself to get all the crap and all the garbage and all the conditioning and all the programming and deprogram all those belief systems and everything, because every single thing that's inside of you was introduced. And what I mean by inside of you, obviously I'm not talking about your God self, right? What I am talking about is your belief systems, your decisions, how you react to things, how you experience things. Quite simply, any limitation in your belief systems or anything that is fear-based or not of love was introduced 100% and is not you and not of you. It's false. It's fake. It's a program. It's something you took on unwittingly, unknowingly, and that you were conditioned with. That's it. Simple. Totally simple. So that's principle number one, right? Go within. Do the work. Now, principle number two is, well, how do you do that? Forget about all the complexities and all the hoo-ha that's out there in the world, all right? Very, very simple. The process is simple. Going within, obviously, the most effective and the only way to go within, truly, is to meditate. Sit down, close your eyes, and go within. That's it. There is no other way to do it. No other way. Period. As a matter of fact, when you look at a lot of, you look at hypnosis and you look at a lot of the different tools and techniques that are out there, and a lot of teachers are teaching all sorts of crazy things, and they're sort of they're basically not even saying that it's meditation, right? They're not really calling it meditation, but you look at every process that actually has any value, it requires you to go within. It requires you to to write down questions and reflect and go within and feel your emotions and all of that sort of stuff. They all do. Every single one. As a matter of fact, every piece and every transformation and everything that you can do to have a breakthrough has to originate from something within you. Even if it happens without you being in a meditative state, you have a revelation or a realization, and then suddenly that changes and impacts you. It doesn't really matter, but the fastest way and the quickest way is to be proactive with that and to go within. So that's number one. Number two is, as I began saying, is there's only two forces in all of creation. Well, in this creation, in the lower dimensions that we exist in. All right. So I'm getting a little bit esoteric here and so forth. So you don't believe in all that, doesn't really matter. But we are in the experience of separation. And so there's two polarities, love and non-love, period, the end. Now that can also be reworded as love and fear. Very, very simple. You know, we spend so much time trying to over-intellectualize the truth and intellectualize and make all these things so complicated and read all these books to try and understand all our traumas and all our things and blah, 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 blah. You go within and meditate and start working with your superconscious self and learn how to do that, because that's the single most important thing you could ever learn. And then you start looking at every aspect of your life and reality through the lens of love versus non-love, love versus fear. Now, what type of love? Okay, because it's not that human romantic love, okay? It's not lust. It's unconditional love. It means love without conditions. Love without conditions for yourself, and love without conditions for everyone else in the world. That's how you find peace, right? But this is where the third principle comes in, because it's like, well, you're telling me to love everyone and everything. Do I have to love Donald Trump or Biden, or do I have to love Putin and, this person and that person and all these people that we have all these judgments of? And it's like, yes, you do. You have to love them unconditionally. It doesn't mean that you condone their actions. It doesn't mean that you support their actions. But here's the real kicker. All right, here's the real kicker. When you send them love, unconditional love, again, you're not condoning, you're not supporting, and you're not preoccupied with what they're doing, okay, because you don't want to be fed by that negative energy, and you don't want to get caught up in that, and you don't want that to bring you down. But when love is the power that heals, it's the only power that heals. Why? Why is the question? And the answer to that is very, very simple. Because it's the essence of who you are. It's the essence of who you are. You are unconditional love. And I could just simply prove it without all the quantum physics and sciences and all the stuff that have now started to prove that we're all interconnected, we're all one, and we create our own reality and all of that sort of stuff. They're just starting to prove what God is, right? Literally, what the oneness is, okay? Which is really the third point that I'm going to get to. But if you understand that, then you realize that if you send someone love, you're sending them healing energy. You're sending them the full force of creation to them. And those lower vibrational beings, people, right, that are doing lower vibrational acts, when you send them that love, it has the potential to raise their vibration, to heal them. And you know what? If every single person on the planet, or at least a large enough group of people on the planet. And science has proven this in prayers, right? And meditation. When large groups of people get together and meditate to heal somebody or heal a certain part of the world or to send love to a certain part of the world, measurably, they're able to measure. I love this stuff. They're able to measure true transformation. And it has shown that wars have ceased or crimes have decreased. People have gotten healed. People have changed. So could you imagine the whole bunch of people sent love to these people that are doing bad things, that you could facilitate them having a spiritual awakening. You could facilitate them changing course and changing their actions. Do you see how powerful that is? So why would you ever want to send non-love to another human being? Because all you're doing is incurring karma. You're actually the one creating the bad things happening in the world. You're contributing to it. You actually incur karma for that. And it keeps you in separation. It keeps you in the lower vibrational field. See how this stuff's easy. It's not complicated. You want to raise your vibration? Be unconditionally loving. Choose love over fear. Love over non-love. What a concept. What a concept. And it's easy. And you know what else? Not only is it easy, it's free. Think about it this way. You can meditate every single day and it doesn't cost you a cent. And it has an infinite number of benefits, especially if you know how to meditate properly. Not the type of stuff that a lot of meditation teachers are teaching. No, meditation is for communication. It's a communication tool. And it's just mandatory. Like that was number one, right? Number two is live your life from understanding that every single choice you make is either unconditionally loving or it's not, period. And if it's not loving to you, it's not loving to everybody else. And if it's loving to you, it's automatically loving to everyone else. And if it's loving to everyone else, it's automatically loving to you. And if it's not loving to anyone else, it's also not loving to you. Very, very simple. The universe only ever deals in win-win, lose-lose. There's no such thing as win-lose. What that means is that whenever you compromise yourself and you don't make the most unconditionally loving choice for yourself, you're automatically choosing the most unconditional loving choice for everyone else, no matter what it looks like out in the world. I'll give you an example. Let's just say you're in a relationship and it's a bad relationship and you know that you're meant to leave it, right? Every single day that you don't leave it, you're not only negatively impacting you, but you're negatively impacting your partner. And if you have children, you're negatively impacting them and you're negatively impacting the whole entire universe. Everything's all one, which is the third topic or the third piece. But I'll get to that in a second. Just think about that. And let's just say you're terrified of stepping up to the plate and maybe confronting that individual because you know it's going to devastate them or hurt them or it's going to impact them or you think you're doing it for your kids. No, you're not. I can tell you 100% of the time of all the couples and people that I've ever counseled and coached and worked with, anybody that's been in that sort of a situation where their parents have stayed together even though they weren't meant to be together. And in some cases, it's only one partner even knows that. The other partner just thinks everything's okay. But anytime that's happened, the children always later on in life look back and go, I really wish my parents just split up and didn't stay together, because it really made living at home so uncomfortable and so painful and so difficult, because they can feel it, they can see it. And depending on the nature of the relationship and how volatile it might be, it's even worse, right? But the point is that let's just say your decision that's right for you, that's truly 100% right for you, it's automatically 100% right for all of creation. Automatically. Once again, the universe only deals in win-win or lose-lose. Never, ever, ever win-lose. Never. Okay? This does not work that way. We're all one. So, third point, we're all one. We're all interconnected. Okay, so that's how you're able to make better choices, right? Because you now understand, all right, I can go within, I can connect with my higher self, my superconscious self. I'm able to engage with it. I'm able to have it help me in my life, okay? So I teach that. That's the main focus of everything that I teach, is how to engage with your higher self, with your superconscious self, your God self. Actually, there's going to be a fourth one here. So then you want to look at everything in your world from the viewpoint of loving versus non-loving, being loving to you, unconditionally loving, and being unconditionally loving for everyone else. And the reason why, and just know, right, there's only two choices in every moment, loving versus non-loving. Now, within those spectrums, those two spectrums, there are an infinite number of choices, right? There's an infinite number of loving choices that I can make for myself. And there's an infinite number of non-loving choices. I could slit my wrist, I could hit myself, I could swear and yell, I could start breaking things up, there's an infinite number of bad things I could do right now. And there's an infinite number of loving things. But when you have just that basic framework, you're going to work within what is right for you, right? And the more loving you are to yourself and everyone around you, unconditionally loving, right? That's the key. You've got to find all the conditions. And so it's unconditionally loving. And the more you choose love, the more you're choosing who you truly are, and at the core, at the essence, and who you were born to be. And again, that leads me now into the third one, right? The third piece. And that is that everything's all one. Everything is God. When you understand that everything is all one, and everything is you, therefore, on the highest plane of creation, the highest level of all of creation, everything's all one, everything's God, well, you are that. You're 100% that. You're just experiencing yourself through a microscopic little blip in all of creation. But that's the whole thing, right? As you raise your vibration, the more you choose love, the more of who you truly are, you realize, right? And that's where the terminology of God realization comes from, or self-realization, or illumination. Some people like the word ascension. I really don't like the word ascension. I find it to be the least accurate description, because you're not ascending anywhere. Yeah, you're expanding your consciousness, but you're not ascending anywhere. A lot of spiritual people think that means going away. I'm escaping the world, this cruel world, and ascend, and then I'm going to be in a higher dimension, and I'm going to be blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yuck, 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 yuck. Sorry if I offend anybody with that, but it's just the truth. You're on the physical plane, and there's nothing wrong with the physical plane. There's nothing wrong with the earth. Everything that's happening is under the auspices of love in the first place. And this is part of the experience. If the experience wasn't like this, it wouldn't be real. There wouldn't be any point to it. So if we didn't have separation, there'd be no point to embody. The whole point of it is that the souls are incarnating to learn about love and to experience non-love and to work their way through it and to evolve into higher realms of existence. Your soul already is from a higher realm. So it's just an experience. It's no different than, the metaverse. This is a soul's metaverse. I come up with a character. Here's Zimmaron. This is what he's going to look like. This is where he's going to be born. And this is going to be his personality traits. You know, you create your avatar, and then the soul just, here's my avatar, and then it's playing a freaking game. Here's my experience. Blah, 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 blah. That's all this is. Quite literally. Like, literally. So when you understand that everything's all one and everything's all interconnected and ultimately everything's you, what's there to be afraid of? What's there to dislike? Why would I send non-love to other people? Because I'm just sending it to myself, which is true. If you send non-love to other people, you have to lower your vibration in order to do that. See what I'm saying? You actually have to lower your vibration in order to send that non-love to another individual. It's really self-defeating, really pointless. Really pointless. So yeah, love Trump, love Biden, love Putin, love Hitler, love this person and that person. Again, I'm not saying condone their actions. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm saying it in the context of the positive transformation that can happen as a result of enough people actually doing that. You want to transform the world? Transform yourself. Realize that you are God. Realize that you have the power. You have the power. And you know what? That's how you get peace. When you realize that everything is you and everything is happening for you, that everything that's happening is a gift and a blessing to teach you more about yourself so that you can get more of the non-love out of you. Holy crap. Holy crap. And I take it as far as saying that you're God. 100%. I'm God. Why? Because it's the truth. Now, the way I label God, okay, because a lot of people have a religious connotation to it, right? And it's a separate outpicturing, and they think it's like this man. How ridiculous. There's no sexes. God isn't a man. God's not a woman either. God's everything. And in order for God to be God, there can only be one. So this whole thing of my God's better than your God and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, God, man, religion. My way is better than your way. How about you just be freaking loving and not judge other people and then see how your life will turn out. And then you'll really, really have the real experience of who you truly are and who you were born to be. It's just the way that it is. So I know that was 3. I think I sort of combined a few with a third one. So I do have a 4th one. And that is that when you summon love into you, when you summon love into you, what do you think is going to happen as you're raising your vibration? What do you think is going to happen? If you think of a cup of dirty, dirty, dirty water, and think of that as being you, with all the conditioning and all the programming and the trauma and all the craziness that's inside of you in that cup, right? And you start pouring in all this beautiful water, clear, clean love water. What do you think is going to happen as it starts to overfill? The water inside the cup is going to get clearer. But what's happening? The dirty water is spilling over and coming out. That is what is happening right now on the planet, which is going to be my 5th point. But this is the 4th one, so I'm going to continue on the 4th point. So when you summon more love into you, and you become more love, and you choose more love, and you start going within, and you start doing whatever it is that you need to in order to remove all the non-love and all the pain and suffering and hurt and the programs and the conditions and all the different judgments and everything else that's not of love that's inside of you, that's the only way to become love. It's the only way to become self-realized. It's the only way to become self-actualized. But the non-love has to come out, because that light is coming in, that love is coming in. So if you think that, this is the big tragedy right now in the world, is that people feel that they need to be on drugs, the antidepressants. Look at how many people are on antidepressants and on all of these different drugs and medications, and I'm not just talking about pharmaceutical drugs. I'm talking about drugs as well. Everyone's trying to pacify all the crap that they don't want to feel. Everyone's avoiding going within. Everyone's holding on to their crap, and that's why people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And the outer world is reflecting that through the toxicity, through our foods and the poisons and the toxins and the environments. It's an outpicturing of the toxins inside of us that we're holding onto with dear life. But that's happening less and less. It's less and less. Or should I say, it's not happening less and less. People have less and less ability to hold on to that now, because the vibration of the planet is increasing as well. Okay, which is my fifth point. We don't have a choice. But back to the fourth one, you need to welcome feeling the hurt and the pain. You need to welcome all the trauma coming up. And sometimes it feeling like it's overwhelming, and the anger and the sadness and the grief. You need to let it out. It's there. For some people, a lot. For other people, maybe less. For most people are stuffing and hiding their emotions. And that's the single greatest key to transformation. It's the fastest way to let go of everything that's holding you back. It's even faster than some of the mindset type techniques, because the emotional body is the glue to which your trauma and your pain and your suffering gets stuck into your body. Okay, it works hand in hand with your brain and your mindset and your thought forms and your belief systems and all of that sort of stuff. It just does. But you can't judge and should not judge the fact that sometimes you're not going to feel great. And that's okay. But don't pacify it. That's the last thing you want to do. Because when you stuff it down, it just gets worse. Whatever you resist persists and intensifies. And it's just a fact. Whatever you resist persists and intensifies. Can't do it. Can't hold it back. You cannot. It's hurting you. It's harming you. Now, I said a lot of things about drugs and medication and all of that sort of stuff. So I need to clarify a few things. You're only on the page that you're on, right? So if you're already on medication and drugs, the ideal situation is, and I'm not a doctor, do not take my advice, but I'm going to give you a framework to work within. The ideal situation is to eventually wean yourself off of those medications. If you start implementing the things that I'm talking about, you will find that you will need them less and less, and they will drop away from you when ready. But the last thing you want to do is to follow a lot of doctors' advice, which is to just keep you lining the pharmaceutical companies' pockets and the doctors' pockets, because doctors get kickbacks on those prescriptions for the rest of their lives. And if I had it my way, they'd be all fired for doing so, because they know that some of the doctors out there, for sure, and certainly the pharmaceutical companies, they know the negative impact of these medications. You know, when people say, follow the science, it's like, science is not fact. Science is theory, and science is always proving itself wrong. And there's a lot of manipulation out there, a lot of manipulation. So for people to even think that the mainstream media and the things that you read and that you're told and that you research online, to think that that's accurate, or to say that it's fact, 100% fact. When you have money, you can pay off people to do whatever you want them to and say whatever you want to. I have seen it happen. I have watched it. I know people in certain professions that have witnessed it themselves, where certain officials in certain organizations that are supposed to be protecting us are getting paid off to let certain things through into the ecosystem of where people as consumers can buy those things, and they can get approved, and they can get the seal of approval from certain organizations and bodies. Okay, so I'm being extremely vague, and it doesn't really matter. The point is, if you're aligned with yourself, you'll be more in tune, and you'll be able to navigate all of that hoo-ha, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just hoo-ha. Who cares about all of that? We already know that there's a lot of crap going on. We already know that there's a lot of shit out there, and that there's a lot of heinous stuff going on. So why focus on it? Live your best freaking life. Raise your vibration. Live in love. Live in your full power. Feel your divinity inside of you, living you, breathing you. Allow it. Allow yourself to have that experience. You deserve it. You see, whenever someone tries to argue against me and say, oh, it's all mumbo jumbo crap, whatever, new age bullshit, or whatever people might want to throw at me and so forth, it's like, you know what? All I'm telling people is to just be love and to go within and become more love. So if that's a crime, and if that's a problem, right? If that's a problem, what am I supposed to say? Because I know what I want to feel, right, inside. I know what I want to feel inside. And I know that 100% that this works. Even if everything I say is 100% wrong and completely self-delusional, I always say this as a joke, but it's sort of true. It is, right? It is a lie. It is a joke. I'm just making it all up, technically, right? Who cares? I'd rather be delusionally happy. I'd rather be delusionally. I would rather live my best life. And I would rather be helping as many people as I can live their best life, even if they're delusional. Even if they're delusional. Why not? Why not? No harm. If you're truly being unconditionally loving, there is no way in the world you could ever hurt or harm another individual. It's impossible. There's only one. Here's a fifth point. It wasn't the fifth one I was going to share, but here's a fifth point. That is that there's only one law, one rule in all of creation. One law, one rule. You don't have to follow it, but if you don't, it just leads to pain and suffering. And that is love, unconditional love. Just be loving. To phrase it in a different way that makes it a little bit more sense, and that is every single human being, every single aspect of creation has free will. Every single aspect of creation at the end of the day has free will. As a matter of fact, the higher you go in the dimensional hierarchy, it seems like there's less and less free will, because why would you want to choose anything but love, right? Hint, hint. So the only cardinal rule is, do not ever impose your free will onto someone else without their permission, without their consent. That's it. It's the only rule. God doesn't care how you wear your hair, what color clothing you wear, what color your skin is, or what color you want to make your skin, whether you want to do whatever you want to do, as long as you're considerate of other people and their choices. There are certain things that are just not appropriate. There are other things that are perfectly fine. It doesn't really matter. But the rule is to be loving. That's it. Simple rules. You live by those rules, you don't need all the other BS rules that religion and all these other things have made up. Man made those up. Or should I say, where it was given to us by higher frequency and higher conscious sources, man has twisted them into, to fit its agenda and to be a proponent for keeping people in fear. And that's sad. It truly is sad. So the fifth piece, or is that sixth now? I think it's sixth. There's a sixth piece now. And then I'm going to finish, right? Because there's really nothing more, okay? But what's happening on the planet right now is that the planet itself, we're at the end of an era. We're at the end of an age. And the planet and all of creation goes in cycles, all right? It's just the way it works. Everything is circular at the end of the day, energetically, and in how it's expressed and everything like that. So we go in cycles, right? We're at the end of a 26,500 or 600 year cycle. And there's a few other cycles that coincide with that and so forth. So we are literally in the end times. We're also in the new beginnings. And that's why there is such a mass awakening that's happening, and there's a spiritual revolution. And that's the reason why things are looking the way that things are looking. Because what's happening on the micro level is happening on the macro level. And what's happening on the macro level is happening on the micro level. So as the planet's vibration is increasing, because we're heading into a new age, we're heading into a fifth dimensional reality, all that light and that higher vibration is flushing all the crap up in all of us. We're all being forced to have to take this ride, if we choose to. Those that are holding on and that are not choosing to change and not choosing to go within and do the real work, and that are basically the people that are choosing fear instead of love, or non-love instead of fear, they are not going to take the full ride. They're just not. They're not going to make it, so to speak. And they will remain in the lower dimensional realities, and they will continue their journey however that will look. The people that are making those changes and applying all the things that I'm saying, which is just the highest and the fastest way to accomplish the outcome and to help the planet ascend into the higher realms and the higher dimensions faster. There is no greater work, but it has to be done unto self, because there is nothing outside of self. You are God. So that's what's happening on the planet. That's what you're seeing. And that's the craziness that's out there. That's the madness. It's humanity figuring out its karma, figuring out all the crap. And it all has to change for the new age that is coming. All the systems have to crumble that are built on fear and non-love. They have to. That's why everything's getting exposed. The Me Too movements and all the crazy different things that are coming out. And now people are starting to realize that the governments aren't as altruistic as they've made themselves out to be. People are starting to realize that the religions and things like that are corrupt, and that there's so much stuff. Before, when we didn't have access to all this technology and information, people were very much in a bubble of their reality. But that's all changing. And if you look back 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, however old you are, you can see how much things have changed. Even if you just look at it in the context of meditation and yoga and stuff like that. 20, 30, 40 years ago, if you would have talked about meditation or yoga or certain spiritual things, people would have immediately called you a nut bar and a kook. And they would have basically relegated you to some sort of a person that's into cults and blah, 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 blah. I know, I lived through it, some of it. But there was a reason why the 50s and the 60s happened and all of that, okay? There's a mass awakening that's happening. And this is the proof of what I've been sharing, of the evolution of humanity. We are going through tens of thousands of years of evolution of consciousness in a very short period of time. So this is exciting. Souls from all different realms are incarnating because this is the best ticket in town. The best ticket in town. This is the best place to be embodied right now. Because from a soul's perspective, the evolution that you can have is second to none. You can break out of the reel of karma. For those that have been stranded for tens and thousands of years, reincarnating on this planet, trapped, they now all have the opportunity to break through and break free into a higher dimensional reality. And then all the others are coming here to support, to watch, to be a part of that. And yes, there are forces that are overseeing all of this, higher dimensional forces that, from a lower dimensional perspective, that are ensuring that this planet does not get destroyed. It's not possible. It's not allowed to. It doesn't mean there won't be potentially very severe consequences for the mass collective consciousness not shifting and not changing fast enough. But it's not to judge or criticize because it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to you because your protection is from what you're doing inside of you. You contribute to the transformation outside of you by the work that you do inside of you. Transformation outside of you for the work that you do inside of you. It's a simple formula. Very, very simple. And this is what I'm saying. There's a lot of heady stuff out there. It's supposed to be in our hearts, not in our heads. This is not complicated. You don't need to be reading an infinite number of books. You're better off to spend that time actually doing the work. Now, if you want to learn from me, if this stuff resonates with you, I mean, this is all off the cuff. I was just literally just testing out my lighting and all of this. It's my first time actually sitting down here in this room and recording a video. And then come along for the ride. I've got a free Facebook group. It's called Reclaim Yourself. Got a lot of other content in there, all sorts of different content. And I'm going to be doing free live reclaiming sessions. I'm going to be starting to do those for the first time ever publicly. And it's going to be nerve-wracking for me to do it because this is all stuff that I've received from higher realms, so to speak, and that I've been working on and doing myself. And look, the bottom line is everything that I teach is about you. You empower yourself. You connect with yourself. And then through that work, you manifest and draw to you and create everything that you need to in order to glide through this reality. Okay? But it's never without action. It's never without action. You must take action. This is not a passive thing. It's a proactive thing. But it's time for people to take their power back from the inside out and with love, unconditional love. It has to be with love. Otherwise, you're empowering the garbage that's out there and you're contributing to it. And then you become a benefactor for it. And then you incur karma for it. And then you're lowering your vibration, so you're mitigating the amazing unfoldment and growth that you're able to achieve and realizations that you're able to achieve. You see, when you raise your vibration by summoning more love and letting out all the non-love, as painful as it can be sometimes to have to face some of those demons. I've worked on myself for 20 to 30 years. And I'm not even saying that I'm done. I'm not done. No. But I know the fastest way. And you know what? I wish that I knew it to the degree that I know it now. I wish that I had this when I was 20. Of course, I don't have any regrets anymore. And when I say I wish, I say that loosely because everything was perfect, right? And here I am now, able to impart wisdom that very few people are teaching out there. But it's all about empowering you. You make the choices. You discover who you truly are and who you were born to be. Don't have other people tell you. Don't be influenced by other people. Connect with the source of who you are, and be influenced by the one that knows you better than you know yourself. Be guided, right? Be guided so that you can align with the right choices, and so that you don't have to make all the frivolous mistakes and go through the school of hard knocks like so many other people are and have been. I can't even tell you how easy my life is in so many areas. And when it's not, I know what to do. And I know that there's something more for me to look at, something more for me to shift and change and reflect upon and to pull out. And I'll solicit the help of my superconscious self, my God self, to do the work for me, to help make it fast. Because no one knows me better than my God self. It's like no one knows you better than your God self. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. And you know what? If everyone thinks I'm just a kook and no one watches this and no one wants to come to my events and no one wants to listen to me, honestly, not my problem. Not for me, because it works for me and I'm having a great time doing it. It's not to say that I don't have bad days, that I don't slip into the illusion, and that I don't have things come up. That's just bullshit. People out there on social media and all of this saying, look at me, I'm so amazing. And with my photoshopped this and that and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, look, I've got filters on my cameras. I've got lights and all of that sort of stuff. I've got scars and things like that and so forth. But that's not what I'm talking about. It's the inauthenticity. It's the inauthenticity. It's time for people to just be real. We all have crosses to bear. We have all done stupid things. We have all had heinous things done to us. Everyone has. Every single time you received non-love in any way, shape, or form, you were abused and you received abuse. But there's no one to blame. And when you realize that there's no one to blame, because everything's all one and ultimately it's you and you created this as God in order to uplift you and to get you to this place. Trust me, when you feel the types of feelings that I have, and maybe you already are, right? But when you feel that, everything I've gone through, no matter how bad or how terrible it was worth it. Worth it. And I'll do it 1,000 times over to get to this place. So just be careful about falling into the trap of, getting seduced by all the conspiracy theory stuff and all the negative stuff that's going on in the world and all of that. That's really my final message before I turn this off. Cannot, don't. See it for what it is, entertainment. There's going to be stuff sometimes that I'm going to share just to give context of what's happening in the world, but it's still entertainment. It's still entertainment. There's only one thing that is real. You going in and getting all the non-love and all the fear and all the trauma and all the conditioning and all the programming out as fast as possible so that you can replace all of that with more and more of who you truly are and who you were born to be, which is unconditional love. Thank you.